Hey everybody, time for a fitness health update. If you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate things, Super Chat, PayPal, Patreon. Some people do watch the videos for health and fitness updates. So it's been about 5 months since I stopped TRT. And again, I was only on for a few months, but you know, people probably want to see what my blood tests are at now. And I also have already stopped taking the Enclomiphene for, I guess right now it would be 8 weeks, but I did the blood test last week, so it would be 7 weeks off of Enclomiphene as well. So only Tomcat Ali and 5 months since any TRT. And this is the dad bod. Again, I don't really think I lost anything. Then again, I didn't really gain anything because, again, the first few months of TRT, very, very, very sick. And then I was only getting used to it the last few months, but bad things were going on, so just ended up stopping. But if you want to see what the dad bod looks like, I made a GIF. This is the first GIF I've ever made, I think, of my dad bod. How's it looking? I don't know. You tell me. Put it in the comments. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe if I would have been able to stay on or something, I would have actually gained something. But whatever the case, I don't really feel like I gained or really lost anything, but didn't really gain anything in the first place. But what is my testosterone at now? So some things that might be interesting. I was only at 526 at this last test, which was a little surprising because I am on Tomcat Ali right now. And the 7360 is when I was on Enclomiphene after stopping the TRT. And I was expecting to be a little bit higher because remember, just on Tomcat Ali, I've been able to get to 800, right? Again, I used to have low regular testosterone as well, but it's always been the free testosterone that's been the problem. But with the Tomcat Ali, I've been able to get to 800 actually. But this test, I was only at 526. I was a little bit surprised, but for what it's worth, I've been very sick. As you, well, if you watched that last health video, I started crying in the video. I've been in a lot of pain. You know, my health is not good. And I know right now too, we're getting all those like forest fires, you know, certain parts of the US when you're near Canada, you get this forest fire stuff. So I've been sleeping really, really badly. So it's kind of funny because the day of the test, not as bad as sleep as I was having before that, but in general, I've been sleeping really bad. So anyway, I was a little bit surprised at 526, but again, whatever. My free testosterone, we're back in the single digits. Grandpa levels out here. What are you going to say, Grant? Fear my grandpa levels. You know, that's why I always say don't underestimate. You know, there's people that think that I take steroids. And look at this. Do I look like someone that has single digit free testosterone, grandpa levels of testosterone? Probably not. But I also push myself very hard. Sex hormone binding goblin did go down a little bit. We went from 70s, higher than a 100-year-old man, just back to an 80-year-old man. I mean, what the fuck am I going to do, dude? Yes, I've taken boron. Yes, I've tried all that stuff. Even on TRT, I could barely lower it. So we're back to the levels of like a 70-year-old, 80-year-old man. So no wonder my free T is, you know, what are you going to do, dude? My E2, 25. But you know what? I'm only at 500 testosterone, so that's not too strange if you think about it, probably. It was at 40 the last one, but, you know, that was another problem. You know, there are just so many problems with the TRT when I tried it. You know, one of the things is I was losing estrogen. I was in the single, or not the single, I was in the teens in estrogen for some reason, even though I was on TRT, which is very bizarre. But whatever. It's at 25 right now. DHEA, not good, but, you know, my DHEA is just not good in general. Actually, I guess that is something that I could probably try to fiddle with. I've never tried DHEA just trying it. Like, I mean, I tried it when I tried the TRT because my DHEA was getting so low, but I've never tried DHEA now that I'm not on TRT. So I wonder if that might do a little bit something, but you know, it's more expensive. So something very important if you've been watching the channel. So one of the reasons I also stopped the TRT is because I was losing all this blood. And I wasn't sure if it was, I have APS after the radiation, you know, I have some blood disorders. And so I wasn't sure if it was, you know, a mixture of that with the TRT making me lose all this iron, or was I bleeding internally? Well, I was bleeding internally. And I did the second colonoscopy, or well, they did a capsule the first time and they saw I was bleeding internally. And I did this colonoscopy, I guess it'd be about a month ago now, a little over a month ago. And I'm not bleeding internally anymore. I'm just have stomach erosion right now, I guess, which wasn't good either. But it's almost kind of like a bad situation because, you know, I'm not going to make myself sick to do it. But, you know, it's so expensive buying all this iron medicine. So all the time, I'm just taking so much trying to keep my iron and ferritin up. And there's almost a part of me that was like, hopefully, quotation marks, I'm still bleeding on this next colonoscopy, because then maybe they'll actually agree to give me, you know, just give me the blood transfusions or whatever, the iron things, right? But unfortunately, they're like, oh, well, you're not bleeding anymore. You're just, the stomach is just eroded from it. So you're okay. So kind of like a, kind of not, you know, I'm not going to make myself sick for a test. You know what I mean? But so kind of bad in a way, good in a way and bad in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because if I would have been bleeding internally again, then they might have actually thought about giving me this iron infusions, but whatever. But anyway, I guess the good thing is, though, it's actually back to 100 again. So the bad thing and the good thing is back to 100 again, because I started losing all this. But it also makes me think again, how much of me losing iron and the ferritin was because of, again, after radiation. I have blood disorders now, like APS, and how much of me losing blood was because I was bleeding internally. And you got to remember, I also was dying from C. diff before. I've tested positive for Crohn's disease, so having stomach issues is not something new. But I will say something interesting. I don't know if it actually looks like it on camera. How much does it look like it on camera? I can say since getting COVID a couple of times in a row and then bleeding internally, I don't know if it actually looks like it. You know, so I'm still shedding a ton of hair, right? But I will say more recently, and probably because the ferritin's getting higher, I will say, although I'm still shedding a bunch of hair, my hair I can feel feels like thicker again, or it's starting to feel thicker. And something stranger as well, my hair that's growing back is growing back like gray and blonde. So, you know what? I guess on a good note, if I try to think about the positive of it, the more light blonde hair, I think, is making me look younger, I guess, right? So I don't know. I told that story. I was at the hospital recently, and the nurse, she kept walking me around and everything like that. And then later she apologized and she's like, okay, I'm sorry. You know, I'm just keep checking because I didn't think you were actually Clayton Chapman. I thought somebody else was pretending to be Clayton Chapman because you look too young to be this person with all these health issues. And I was like, oh, thanks. And she's like, no, it's a compliment. God really blessed you. I rolled my eyes at that one, but I don't know. I'm trying to think about the positive. So I'm still shedding like a motherfucker, but you know, what are you going to do? I just only recently stopped bleeding internally and COVID multiple times in a row, and is what it is, right? Something that might be interesting, my LH, again, I'm not on the Enclomiphene anymore, but even 7 weeks after, again, it's been 8 weeks now when I'm making this video, but 7 weeks when I did the blood test, my LH was still 6.4, which is higher than it normally is when I get it tested. So that's pretty strange. That's kind of strange to me. Again, it was 8.7 on the Enclomiphene, 6.4 7 weeks after, and the FSH, same thing there. So FSH, I've had 4s and everything like that before, but LH is still a little bit higher, so that's a little bit interesting. So anyway, there you go. That's what it is. How do I feel? I feel like shit. Again, I stopped taking the Enclomiphene just because I don't think it's good to take things all the time anyway, you know, but I have thought about trying the TRT again. Excuse me, and then maybe try it with the enclomiphene to kind of keep my nuts working a little bit while I'm on it, even if it's just a little bit. Again, I don't know. It's seemingly, some people say that Clomid or enclomiphene do keep your nuts still going, even if you take TRT. Some people say it doesn't work as good as HCG or something, but I've thought about it because I'm just so fucking tired. You know, the funny thing is, again, when I was crying in that recent video, it's not even like it hasn't been that bad of a summer. It's not like last year. Like last year, again, I had about 4 months of worst cluster headache period that I've had in many years. And, you know, those are very bad, you know. Most painful condition known to man, many doctors say. And, you know, imagine 4 months of that, you know. But this summer, you know, I'm still sick, but it hasn't been as bad as that. But, you know, it just is. I'm just sick so often, dude. Like even today, tried to go for a walk. I just had to stop, dude. I just couldn't get through it. I'm just so fucking tired. And yesterday, I think I went out for about 5 hours, but about an hour and a half of that was just like sitting down. I just couldn't do it. And, you know, I've said that before. Ever since I've gotten long COVID, what it would be in 2021, whatever it was, that was just like the nail in the coffin. It's just made things so difficult to do things. But, and again, for what it's worth, I said before that I started getting the nocturnal erections again. Those have stopped again, but we'll see if I start again. You know, things suck, dude. But again, this is the dad bod. If you want to check on it, maybe I'll try the TRT again. I don't know, but things aren't doing good. Sex drive is in the can, but, you know, again, look at I got the free tea right now of a grandpa again. It just is, you know, it's hard dealing with that, with being sick all the time. You know, it just is, I don't know. And if you like the videos, like, sub, comment, share, support the channel if you can. Appreciate it. Thanks.